In the intro, we talked about the idea of misinformation. Misinformation is quite rampant with pro-Trump influencers sharing a lot of misleading maps. How do you see social media's influence on public perception and potentially inciting unrest like we've seen in the previous election?
Well, after regards, I think this time the conflict and the circumstances happen locally in the United States. It gives the social media a kind of platform and credit that most of the youth are not relying on the official media, because what's happening in the last almost 1 year, what's happening with uh, Israel attacking Gaza, Lebanon, so many of the youth, which they are representing 40% of the elected population in the United States, are not believing anymore the official media because of certain circumstances. So they go to social media. I think with this election, something will happen different, that the youth and generally good number of the American citizens will go further to believe in social media more than the other official channels, which used to be the official channel to represent what's happening on the ground, especially in such an occasion like the election of 5th of November. Yeah.
Which can also sort of be a bit dangerous, sir. Officials do fear that maybe small-scale conflicts could erupt if Trump loses. How likely is the post-election unrest to happen, and how can the authorities prepare for it, given the misinformation that's being passed around when it comes to how the elections are going so far?
Yeah, that's correct. Misleading is a part of what's happening, but people, we cannot blame them because they have tried for years and decades to depend on or to rely on the official media, and for somehow they have the feeling that it is going to lead them for a different era, is different than what is the truth, what is the truth on the ground. I think this conflict, what's happening on the election of 2024, is giving the chance for many of the Americans, especially youth, which they are representing 40% of the total occupancy of the American people to elect. I think within the next few hours, something will happen different. It could represent that American people are, for somehow, they have a lot of questions, especially the youth. They were not believing for the future, for the decade, that they were not involved in the political elections. But for this year, exactly what's happened between America as a depending of Israel and helping Israel blindly for what's happening in the more one year, that makes a lot of the American citizens, especially the youth, to say something different. So let us say what's going to happen in the next few hours. Are most of the Americans are convinced what the administration of Biden for the last 4 years was really doing very good? I suspect that most of the youth and the other groups of the American citizen, maybe they will go to the other side, not because they are liking Trump personally or the Republican, but really they felt so far that Democrats, they have done really so bad for the last 4 years.
Yes, sir. I mean, you talked about how people are feeling when it comes to the US elections. But it's not just about how they feel. There's also, as you said, social media is a very big influence when it comes to how they digest their information and how they will vote. But do you believe that it's not just, for instance, the Trump campaign that's sending out misinformation, but there's also foreign influence when it comes to how the misinformation is handled, like the fake bomb threat that the FBI has said is possibly from Russia. Do you think this can sway the electoral process or, for instance, stop people from going to vote in fear of a possibility of a bomb threat?
Well, to certain extent, I think it happened for the previous 4 years ago. The election was some kind of a kind of say that Russia has involved in directing the direction of the American citizen to certain direction, that nobody is really about to say that was correct 100%. I think it was a matter of what's happening with the election period, that every party is trying to do what's from his point what it could be helping them. I think this time, because what's happened in the ground, that the people are very suspicious of something will happen to destroy the democracy of America and lead some part towards the other part. I don't think that American people are not in that kind of blame. They are strong. They are strong enough, and they are intelligent enough to find out if that a kind of flattering in the media or that's truth in the ground. They can believe it.
Okay, so I mean, other than the misinformation aspect of how the electoral process is going, Trump's advisors had actually told him or advised him to declare victory early in close states. What impact do you think this could have on the political stability and public trust in general? And could this, early declaration of early victory mean unrest like we've seen, during January 6th 4 years ago?
I think recently, the last election and this election, we are quite aware about such a kind of giving kind of statements. You cannot say it's a false statement, but it's kind of hope that early statements, it cannot be believed that we have to wait till the end of the election and some official statement can say exactly what the figures is showing. But I think personally, in this election 24, something will happen differently, that we have to wait some time more than the regular hour in case that a part compared to the other part is almost showing that is going to win. What President Trump is saying makes, I think, the official people and the public is waiting for something different.
Yes, but again, if he does lose, and he had declared victory earlier, even though he lost, even if the election results come out later and not as expected, do you think that this is going to affect the American public in general? And we've seen, election-related violence on the rise, including arrests near the Capitol. How can this affect the democracy process? And do you think that this trend will continue on in the future when it comes to elections in America?
Previous election 4 years ago, I think we went through different experiences that it happened for the first time on the democracy of America that Trump and his people, they were not happy with the result. And what's happened on 6th of January was a unique situation to America democracy. But I think this time is quite different. I don't think that something like that can happen from the point of the acceptance of the American citizen, from the point of the security alarm, which is around all the states, especially in the capital, Washington, D.C. What Mr. Trump was warning people against, if I will not win, something will happen. That's kind of his kind of campaign wishes, but as usually, American cannot accept such a kind of statement, which it makes a lot of alarm to the situation.
Okay, I mean, let's take a wider perspective when it comes to the electoral process itself. There has been possibilities of, or at least the U.S. claims that there is a possibility that Russia is interfering with the electoral process, whether it be through disinformation or other forms of campaigns as well. What measures do you think are going to be used or need to be used to safeguard the electoral process and ensure there is no, outside influence when it comes to selecting the next U.S. president?
Well, to be honest, that was said for the last previous election 4 years ago, but there is no proof for the time being that it was a matter of propaganda or it is actually happened. I think this time, with all the concern, that very accurate statement that will show exactly what the representative of the American citizen will show, no matter if somebody else is having his own wishes to say something like that.
Okay, what about the divisive language used by Trump and his allies, especially targeting, women in key swing states. How does this affect voter turnout and the broader health of democracy in general?
As American citizens, they are not used to such a kind of statement, but actually, it's another trial that the American people has to be ready for in the future. If something will happen like that, will never affect exactly what is America used to be as a democracy country and the people that respect the law. So we are actually in a very difficult battle. It will test how the American people are strong to be facing all these kind of different things happen to them.
Okay, if we could also take a look at Vice President Harris. She promises to tackle rising living costs. How critical is this when it comes to influencing voters and the economic climate in general in the US? And do you think that voters actually believe that she can pull away from the strategies used by Biden and actually help influence the economic climate in the US?
Well, as an economy, as a climate exchange, what Kamala Harris and her campaign is trying to do a good part on that scheme. Inside the United States and all over the world, it could be on the side of the Trump. It could be much better than what Kamala Harris is trying to do.
Okay, well, let's go back to the idea of disinformation as well. The FBI had warned of fake videos spreading election misinformation. And this obviously could be available on social media as well. How effective has the US response been, and what additional measures can be taken to counter these threats, especially when it comes to, videos you could access, for instance, on YouTube?
Well, I think this time, with what's happening inside the United States and the influence on that, something will happen different in this election. But I think that American people are very well educated to understand what's happening and compare what is the best on their future agenda in the coming years.
Okay, what election security concerns do you think are mounting, and what role should, the federal agencies as well as law enforcement play in ensuring a peaceful transition of power? I understand that this is obviously a political matter, but also they have some sort of involvement in ensuring there's peace in the streets of America, basically.
That's very important kind of concern. I think it's a matter of how they call it, compromising between the people around the cabinet of Kamala Harris, and in the future, I think something will happen on the benefit of the American citizen to save the country and to give a very good example that election will come in a very modern and better and safe way.
Okay, sir, other than the security threats that may face the electoral process, what other concerns do you think that the average American has when it comes to voting today? Are they fearful of crowding, for instance, or are they fearful of being unheard?
Well, Americans are really concerned about what is going to be the next future of the America. They're very much concerned about the security, about the economy, about how the picture of America will be in the future. Is it going to be America the best again, America again, as Trump is saying, or America in a better again in a way, like some other people in concern locally and internationally, that if America is going to be great again on the way that the administration of Biden is giving this kind of platform to Israel to do what it's supposed to do, or this kind of support to Ukraine and doing something in the Europe. That is exactly American people are asking so many questions. Why we are paying all these milliards of dollars to do something is beyond our control, and we are not interested in doing something. We are not believe that this is on the benefit of America.
Well, sir, we've discussed in depth during this interview the idea of security concerns and the possibilities of unrest and violence and all of that. This is all due to the fact that the American public in general is quite polarized and quite divided on how they see America should be. Do you think that there is a way for the Americans to sort of heal and find some sort of middle ground when it comes to how they view politics in the US? Because it's been quite polarized for the last 8 years or so.
Well, American concern is for the last 4 years when the Biden administration started to be on the ground, they said, we don't concern much about the Middle East. Our concern is what's happening on the other side, Russia and China. But what's happening because of their defense and their love to Israel, they went forward to another area where on the other side, I think the most critical and important battle on the future that how America will deal with the other side, Russia, China, and what's happening on the east side, not in the Middle East.
Okay, sir, what about other concerns that Americans have? You talked about the Russia situation, but do you think that the young Americans also have other issues that they may be concerned about, and this could lead them to vote for either a candidate or even third party? Because I know a lot of young Americans, specifically maybe Arab Americans, are thinking of voting, third party.
Well, as Trump said that if I will be in the administration, second way I will call both sides in Ukraine and in Israel to stop the war. That's fine. But even if Kamala Harris will be on the situation that something will happen, has to say something to show the world and to show the local people in America that new administration had to stop the war around the world and give another good picture to America that it is going to be supporting to the peace, not supporting one side to kill the other side.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Ahmed Maharem, writer and political researcher, for your insights on the current US elections. Thank you so much for joining us here on Q News.